What's up, Grayson Report? I am back with another video. And do you guys like to read books and not like Twilight or Harry Potter, but horror books? Stay tuned after this. I know I used to read a lot and I wasn't a huge Stephen King fan, but I did find a book by Stephen King that I did like. And yes, I did read Twilight and the Harry Potter books and Divergent series but I did find a little article which I thought was kind of interesting that lists the 20 must read stories of eerie cabins and haunted homes, which is on Book Riot. I found it kind of interesting because, to be honest with you, I've never really read a horror book. I've always read like I said, like Divergent or Harry Potter. I mean, I read one Stephen King book, which was, I don't even remember the name of it, but I did really enjoy it. But guys, what if you do read? What was your favorite book to read? Comment below. Well, it starts off, were you expecting a cozy night in a secluded cabin or a chill evening at home away from the bustling city streets? Think again. These 20 must-read books about eerie cabins and haunted homes prove one thing. Nowhere is safe, and there is no place for you to turn to hide from the demons that haunt you. Maybe that's why haunted house stories and horror set in spooky cabins are the scariest horror genres. If you're not secure with the doors locked, hidden in the comforting warmth of your own home, where could you possibly ever be safe again? No amount of comfort can shield you. The books included in this list are some of the best in the genre. Whether it's set in a cabin in the middle of nowhere or a suburban family home, horrifying things happen in these places. Things that will haunt your nightmares. Things you will not be able to get out of your head anytime soon. Get ready to read some of the scariest books you've ever gotten your hands on, including some classics and some new titles just released this year and everything in between. And don't forget to lock your doors, not that it will protect you in the end. Real quick, guys, if you guys, this actually kind of reminded me of, I love spooky stories, which is kind of weird that I've never read a horror book. Besides scary stories to tell in the dark. And I remember there was this book I had as a child. I don't even remember the name of it, but it was like a hardcover book and I would always read it. And it had like little spooky stories. But if you have a spooky story of your own, even if it's UFO related, please email me at graysonreport13@gmail.com and I will share it on my next live. Just let me know. If you don't want me to share it, and I won't share it. But if you do have a spooky story, email me again at graysonreport13@gmail.com. The first book, which looks kind of cool, In the House in the Dark of the Woods by Lord Hunt. This atmospheric and horrifying disoriented folktale like horror story follows a Puritan woman who gets lost in the woods and finds herself stumbling into a strange cabin in the middle of the forest. From there, the woman meets strange characters and goes on a haunting journey of self-discovery that will upend her life and change how she sees the world. If you love witchy horror stories like The Witch, then Lord Hunt's In the House in the Dark of the Woods will be perfect for you. I didn't really like the movie The Witch. The only thing I liked out of that movie, because that was more of I call those movies like a mind F, where it's not really a horror film, but it's more of a film that F's with your mind. But the only thing I really liked out of that movie, I never read the book though, was Black Phillip. So, and I have a bunch of Funko Pops from that, but this book sounds interesting. Next, Kill Creek by Scott Thomas. Kill Creek is a great self-referential horror stories for the reader who has read all the greats of the horror genre and wants more. For the first time in decades, the Finch House is welcoming new visitors. 4 best-selling horror authors have been invited to stay the night in the reportedly haunted house on Halloween. It was just supposed to be a publicity stunt, but the house's new inhabitants soon learn that the whispers of hauntings were not just whispers. Ooh. Just Like Home by Sarah Gailey. Are you fascinated by true crime stories, and do you also want to read a haunted house story? Why not a little of both? Vera has been estranged from her mother for years, but when her mother becomes ill, she returns to the family home. But there's more awaiting Vera in the home than just her sick mother. Vera is haunted by the violence that happened there and the bodies her father buried. When Vera starts receiving strange notes, she assumes it's the new tenant just messing with her. But could these be notes from her father from beyond the grave? The Spite House by Johnny Compton. Why would a father agree to stay in a haunted home with his two daughters? For Eric Ross in the Spite House, it's out of the desperation for money and for a place to hide. On the run from a mysterious past, the Ross family sees the Spite House as the answer to their prayers. All they have to do is stay in the home and witness the hauntings there, and they will be paid out generously. But nothing could prepare Eric and his two girls for just how terrifying the Spite House truly is. If they really had that, would you guys, if someone paid you to stay the night in a haunted house, would you guys do it? Comment below. And I mean, it would probably be a generous amount. It wouldn't be like $50. It'd probably be like a good amount. Would you do it? Comment below. I think I would, because I would definitely be streaming it, or I would be bringing my GoPro and I'd be sharing it with you guys. White is for Witching by Helen Oyemi. White is for Witching is a chilling gothic horror novel set in a mysterious house on the cliffs of Dover. Here, Luke runs a bed and breakfast with his two children, twins Miranda and Elliot. The family is mourning the death of Lily, the matriarch, and they also grapple with the generations of women who still haunt the halls of their home. Miranda is especially attuned to the spirits in the house, and the more she connects with them, the more she starts to disconnect from her own brother and father. Ooh. The Grip of It by Jack Jemick. When Julie and James buy a new home in the small town right outside the city where they met, what could possibly go wrong? The beautiful home positioned between the ocean and the forest is at first seems like a dream come true for the young couple, but the longer the couple stays there, the more the house seems to take on a life of its own, transforming and decaying before their very eyes, becoming unrecognizable. That one sounds interesting. Actually, you know what? They all sound interesting. The Cabin at the End of the World by Paul Tremblay. The Cabin in Paul Tremblay's The Cabin at the End of the World might just be the eeriest forest getaway in literature, but it's not because it's haunted. The story follows couple Eric and Andrew and their 7-year-old daughter Wynn on a vacation that will forever change their lives and perhaps the fate of the world. It all begins one lazy afternoon when Wynn is catching grasshoppers in the forest outside of their vacation cabin. There, Wynn encounters a stranger named Leonard who claims he needs their help preventing the end of the world. Mapping the Interior by Stephen Graham Jones. It's easy to feel lost and disoriented in a strange new place, but what happens when your own home and the inhabitants inside it becomes unrecognizable? That's what happens in Stephen Graham Jones' Mapping the Interior. One night, a 15-year-old boy sees a strange figure walking through his house, someone who resembles the father he lost before they moved from the reservation. As he follows the man through their home over the next few nights, the boy attempts to map out his house, endangering his family in the process. White Smoke by Tiffany D. Jackson. White Smoke starts the way most haunted horror stories start. A family moving to a new place in the hopes of starting over. But from there, the novel is full of surprises. When Marigold and her family moved to the picture perfect house on Maple Street, it seems too good to be true. But Marigold can't help but overhear the whispers about her neighborhood at her new school. And then there's the house itself, where things keep disappearing and the family feels strange presences watching them around every corner. The Little Strangers by Sarah Waters. In this historical horror novel, a country physician named Dr. Faraday is called to assist a patient at Hundreds Hall, the crumply old home of the Eerie family. The house used to be a stately and impressive Georgian estate, but now the family is struggling with the house's upkeep. Of course, that's not the only thing about the house the Eerie's are struggling to deal with, as Dr. Faraday discovers when he enters the home. Storied halls, something supernatural is haunting this family, something that refuses to let go. The Hacienda by Isabel Canas. Here, another historical horror novel that's unmissable, The Hacienda, set during the aftermath of the Mexican War of Independence, is like Rebecca meets haunted house story. When Beatrice accepts a proposal from the strikingly handsome and overwhelming wealthy Don Rodolfo Solorzano, she tries to ignore the rumors about his previous wife. But when she arrives at the Hacienda, Don Rodolfo leaves her to roam the grounds alone, and she starts hearing voices in her head. Ooh, this one actually sounds like something I would love to read. I mean, they all sound good, but this one kind of is striking my interest. Nothing But Blackened Teeth by Cassandra Caw. Nothing But Blackened Teeth features a haunted house so notorious that a group of friends travel across the world to see it. What's the occasion? A wedding. While a haunted house might not sound like the dream location for a wedding to you, the characters of the novel beg to differ. But what starts off as a fun celebration turns into something much more terrifying. The hauntings are not just rumors, the ghosts are very, very real. Wilding Hall by Elizabeth Hand. Wilding Hall is a beautiful old home that seems like the perfect place to spark creativity and record an album. At least that's what the acid folk band in Elizabeth Hand's Wilding Hall seems to think. Not long after their arrival at the house, the lead singer of the band disappears, and the band is ultimately forced to leave without any answers to what happened. Years later, they all return to Wilding Hall in the hopes of making sense of what happened all those years ago. Joining them is a documentary filmmaker who hopes to get the bottom of this haunting mystery. The Good House by Tanarive Dew. So many haunted house stories, including many on this list, are triggered by traumatic events and feelings of grief and loss. But none of them are quite as intensely traumatic as Tananare Dew's The Good House. Angela Toussaint loses her son to S. Now she's returning to the same home where her son took his own life. When it comes to death by S, there really are no satisfying answers to make their grief any easier. And yet, Angela is hoping to find closure. Instead, she finds a sinister presence that drives people to acts of violence. House with Good Bones by T. Kingfisher. Sam Montgomery is really worried about her mother. Out of nowhere, Sam's mom is acting jumpy and nervous, and she's starting to make strange changes to the family home on Lammergreer Lane. Sam wonders if her mother's behavior has anything to do with her late grandmother, and as shocking family secrets are revealed, Sam will discover that she's not wrong. Now Sam struggles to uncover the truth behind their family home before Lammergreer Lane completely consumes her. Maynard's House by Herman Rocher. Maynard's House is a classic gothic thriller set in a cabin in the woods. Austin Fletcher is a Vietnam vet who's gifted the small house in Maine from a fellow soldier, Maynard Whittier, who was killed in combat. At first, Austin sees the house as the perfect escape from the past, but the more time he spends there, the more Austin feels influenced by the strange presence there. And the more time he spends there, the more he starts to lose his grip on reality. She is Haunting by Trang Thong Tran. Trang Thong Tran's Eerie haunted house novel is also a scathing takedown of imperialism in Vietnam. Jade Nguyen's father has one goal: to restore a French colonial home or house in Vietnam to its former glory. But the house has goals all its own. At night, Jade wakes up feeling entirely paralyzed, and she hears the voice of a woman telling her not to eat. Neither her father nor her sister believe Jade when she tells them that there's something strange about the house. But Jade knows the house will not rest until it destroys them all. The Haunting of Hill House by Shirley Jackson. Shirley Jackson, The Haunting of Hill House likely needs no introduction. After all, it's one of the most famous haunted house stories of all time. The 1959 Gothic horror novel follows four visitors who arrive at Hill House with different goals. Dr. Montague is a scholar of the occult looking for proof of a haunting. Theodora is his assistant. Luke is the future heir of Hill House. And Eleanor is a sensitive soul with a mind and a heart open to hauntings of spirits. The longer the group stays at Hill House, the stronger the house's powers become. How to Sell a Haunted House by Grady Hendrix. Think haunted houses are scary? What about a haunted house filled with haunted dolls? Oh my God, this is right down my alley. Louise and Mark Joyner are two estranged siblings with nothing in common. But when their parents die at the end of the Bud Light virus, the siblings are forced to work together to put their homes on the market. But something is off about the house. Before their parents died, they taped newspapers over the mirrors and nailed the attic door shut, and things only get weirder from there. I'm actually interested in that. At first, because it was like how to sell a haunted house, I was thinking, okay, but then after reading the description, this one sounds like one I should dive into. Mexican Gothic by Sylvia Moreno Garcia. All I can say about this last book without giving anything away, this is a haunted house story, but it's not what you think. After Naomi Taboda receives a letter from her cousin claiming her new English husband, Virgil Doyle, is trying to murder her. Naomi answers her cousin's call and heads to the Doyles' isolated mansion to investigate. High Place is a strange home with many secrets, and while rumors fly in the nearby villages, nothing can come close to the horrifying truth behind the Doyles and their estate. Horror fans really can't get enough of creepy houses. That's why we also put together a list of 30 haunted house books that will give you the creeps. And if you want a horror story specifically tailored to your taste, try building a haunted house of your own to get a haunted house book recommendation. Guys, what did you think of that article, and which book would you read if you like to read books? Comment below. And just a quick reminder, guys, I know you're tired of me saying this, but I do go live Mondays at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time and Saturdays at 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. The only reason why I keep saying that is because YouTube sometimes does not give you notifications, and it's just another way to be there and be present so you don't miss one of my lives. And also too, I have various social medias that I do post when I go live too as well. If you would like to join, I will put them in the description below. And also, if you would like to support the channel, I will provide those options as well in the description below. Be there and be squared, and I will see you on the next one, guys. Stay spooky.